Okay. So we're going to do a quick word association exercise. I'm going to mention a person. I just want to hear the first thing that comes to mind when I mention that person's name. I'm looking just for a word or a phrase. I'll call on you one at a time for this. Don't blurt it out. First person is Vice President Harris. First word or phrase that comes to mind. Does everybody have one for her? Don't overthink it. Everybody got one? Okay. Crystal.
Surprised.
John.
The same.
The same as Crystal?
Oh, the same as in the policy from the previous administration to her administration. The same. I think nothing's changed.
Oh, God. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. All right. Jason.
Empty vessel.
Tiara.
Impressed.
And Chris?
Unsure.
All right. Next person, former President Trump. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear his name? Everybody have one? Chris.
Scared.
Tiara.
Messy.
Crystal.
Arrogant.
John.
Polarizing.
Jason.
Um, uh, Undisciplined.
Okay. So imagine you could have the experience of spending a half hour hanging out in a bar with either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Right? So that's your choice. So if you had to choose, by a show of fingers, who'd choose hanging out with Trump? One of you, Jason. Who would hang out with Harris? Four of you. Okay. So Jason, why Trump?
I think he's funny. And then also just like people who've known him personally say he's like a really nice guy, and just like in some like he's been on podcasts more recently, and it seems like a very like humanizing as opposed to like what we've been seeing him in at rallies. So I think that he's kind of restructured himself as somebody who can be approachable. While Kamala Harris, I don't think it'd be very fun to be around here. Yeah.
What makes you say she wouldn't be fun?
I just don't really like the way she's like just in interviews, she hasn't been able to like give concrete answers about anything, and she's just always evasive. And I mean, she's laughing and stuff, but it doesn't seem like a fun time to me. Just like her approach to having like joy or however they describe her. So yeah, I don't really like her like whole personality, I guess.
Got it. Okay. The other four of you would hang out with Harris in that bar. Tiara, tell me why. Why'd you choose her?
Kamala's goofy. So that's why she laughs a lot, because she's goofy. Because I feel like she could be more of a free spirit there, maybe. Have a little freedom.
Okay. John, what about you?
My vote wasn't so much a vote for Harris as it was that I wouldn't want to hang out with Trump. Because I find him egotistical and self-centered.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I was voting more to not be with Trump, but also I think I would like to kind of learn more about Kamala, I guess.
Okay.
A bit of a read on her.
All right. Crystal, what about you?
I grew up in New York. I've had Trump my entire life. I have no desire to speak more with him. I would love to get to know Kamala better. I just find she has a much better personality that I would rather hang with at a bar than Mr. Trump.
Okay. So when it comes to Donald Trump, what are the five of you most hopeful about? What are you most hopeful about? Any of you?
Do you want to like just free response? Like anybody can go?
Yeah,
Or
go
do you
go
wanna,
ahead.
like,
Yeah. What do
okay.
you hope-
Yeah, I think he might shake the system. Like, I think that he kind of said that he was going to do that in 2016. I think he was still maybe kind of trying to learn the landscape. I'm hopeful that in 2020 or 2024, if he wins that, perhaps he'll, bring in people that want to shake up the system. Like Elon Musk, he wants to like, improve the government. JD Vance, I think, as like he's like a smart guy. He's been in VC, and I think they bring a lot of smart people to hopefully shake up things and try to improve like what's going on in government and the inefficiencies there, and also kind of how slow it moves.
The other four of you, what are you hopeful about when it comes to Trump?
I'm
If he
hopeful that some of
loses,
the,
I'll let John go.
John, go
sorry, I'm hopeful that some of the economic policies that were instituted under Trump would continue, that we would see potentially lower inflation and more economic growth, despite the fact that he wants to impose all these tariffs on foreign made goods.
Crystal?
If he were to win, I really hope he does not follow through on some of the more drastic things he plans on doing with cabinet and things like that to kind of solidify more power for himself. That he really will keep it more the way the Constitution has it set up that our forefathers wanted to have, and not his self-centered, egotistical way of governing.
Anything else?
Well, I was gonna just say also like kind of like some of the social issues that like kind of like about trans stuff. I think like that he's maybe more moderate than Democrats, and like maybe like CRT and like some of the like stuff that's been going on at universities and like in schools, that maybe they'll bring back more in line with like what I think maybe more Americans believe in.
Okay. Got it. When it comes to Kamala Harris, what are you most hopeful about? Anybody?
I'd say I'd be hopeful that she could reach across the aisle and work with the Republican Party to actually get stuff done. It seems like we've been in perpetual gridlock now for a long time.
Okay. Chris, what are you hopeful about when it comes to Harris?
I'm the same. I'm hopeful that she can bring about bipartisan dealings.
Tara, what are you hopeful about with her?
I agree with John and Chris, and as well as I'll be hopeful if everything that she promised, that she can make sure it happens.
Okay. What else? Crystal, you got any hope? Anything you're hopeful about with her?
I hope that she is able to calm the waters, that we aren't as polarized. She seems that some of the things she's been able to reach across the aisle, and maybe we can get some work done, forward motion on things, because it does seem like we have been kind of stagnant and fighting back and forth. I'm kind of over all the fighting. We all have to work together, and we've been able to do it in the past. We should be able to do it in the future. I also hope she does get more of the women's rights back, because I do worry about the younger generation and their health care. And that's the secondary thing that I am very worried about, because I have a daughter, and she right now has a pretty bleak future compared to where I was at her age. So I'm hopefully we can get something going better for women that way.
Okay. When it comes to Donald Trump, what are you most fearful of? What are you most fearful of?
I'm fearful that he's just gonna come do something drastically crazy, that shouldn't be done because he can do it if he becomes president again.
Okay. What else are you fearful of?
I'm fearful that he will not accept the results of the election if he is not declared the winner.
Jason, what are you fearful of with Trump, if anything?
I'm worried he's kind of a loose cannon on foreign affairs, and so that maybe had been useful in 2016. People were scared to mess with the US, but now we're already entrenched in some areas, and so he might, he might not be the partner that some people need in at current times. And also just like undermining more, doing more things that will polarize the US and doing some like undermining the government in some areas that. So there's a balance to strike, maybe making it more efficient, but not also just totally undercutting what's been going on in the government.
Chris, what are you most fearful of with Trump?
I'm afraid that he's gonna create more power for himself and start to try to take over the government and go after the people who don't agree with things that he thinks and try to create more turmoil, basically.
Okay. Crystal, what are you fearful of?
His relationship with Putin and Kim Jong-un and some of the more radical people in the world, and that he's going to drag us into something that we don't want to get dragged into. And also, if he loses, that there is not another rampage on the Capitol again. I can't see that happening again.
Okay. When it comes to Kamala Harris, what are you most fearful of?
That she isn't strong enough. That she doesn't stand up when she needs to.
Okay.
I'm
Crystal?
afraid that Congress, they won't take her seriously. She would be the first woman president. I'm just afraid that being that first, it's gonna make it hard for her, because unfortunately we have 200 plus years of men running the country, and to have a woman in the seat of power, I see that being a problem for the men. Hate to say it, but sometimes they just don't get it. Tiara understands. Sometimes, you have a woman in a position of power, and it can be very difficult for them. They're not taken seriously.
Got it. Chris?
I'm fearful that she'll keep running things the same way that they've already been ran for the past 4 years. And then I'm also fearful of foreign relations, that some of the dictators or people in power of other countries are not going to take her as seriously as everybody else. So I'm kind of worried about how that's going to all work out.
Okay. John?
I'm fearful of having progressive policies implemented that increase taxes and increase regulation on businesses. And I think some of the policies that Jason had touched on, CRT and whatnot, those might come to the forefront and have a higher probability of being implemented.
Jason, what about you?
Yeah, like John mentioned, like some of those, like she's tried to run away from some of those positions, or it hasn't been mentioning them since in 2020 when she was running. But I think that she maybe would still go down that path of being kind of extremely liberal and doing some sorts of things, and also kind of like John mentioned, or maybe it was Chris, who kind of doing things to the economy that I don't agree with, that I think maybe will hurt us in the long run and even in the short run, just like to try to please certain groups, but that won't be in the best benefit of all of us. And then also, yeah, just kind of, I think what Chris was saying, like just kind of on the national or the international stage, like she'll be considered weak, and so people won't respect the U.S.
So I want you to think back to when Trump was president from January 2017 to January of 2021. Please give me a word or phrase to describe what life in America was like during his administration, during that period of time. Everybody have one?
I think it was
But
open.
hang on a second. Hang on. I want to make sure everybody has one. Crystal, you look like you were thinking about it. You're still thinking? Don't overthink it. You have one? You do? Okay. Tiara, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure everybody had one.
It's fine. I think it was open.
It was what?
Everything open. Like it
Open.
was just open to whatever.
Okay. Crystal?
Status quo.
Okay. Chris?
Normal.
Jason?
Unexpected, random COVID.
Okay. John?
It was never dull. Trump's kind of a loose cannon, and you're not sure what he's going to say or how he's going to say it. And then, yeah, COVID came into the equation, and it was kind of a roller coaster ride.
Got it. Okay. Next, please think back to this period that we're in now, when Biden has been president, from January 2021 to today. Please give me a word or phrase to describe what life in America has been like during his administration, during this period of time. Does everybody have one? You do? Okay. Jason, go ahead.
Reduced.
Chris?
Dismal.
John?
Blase.
Tiara?
Broke.
Crystal?
Stressful.
Okay. So please think back to early September and the 8 weeks between then and today. So like Labor Day to today. By a show of fingers, who recalls something happening either in the world at large or during the presidential campaign that caused you to shift how you view either Trump or Harris? Was there a moment between Labor Day? So we're talking after the conventions, after Harris took over from Biden, from Labor Day today to today. Is there anything that's happened that's caused you to shift how you view either Trump or Harris just since Labor Day? Anybody?
For me, it was a couple of points. Like one was just like the consistency of Kamala Harris not being able to like answer hard questions or not even easy questions. She just fumbles a lot. And then Trump kind of his softening of his kind of like going on like different podcasts and like kind of just being more open and just seeming more approachable. And then also like the biggest one was like I think the vice presidential debate, where Waltz and then Vance faced off, and it was it made me feel better about like Trump if he were to become president, because like Vance is there and he seems like qualified and like somebody who could, you know, step in. And then Waltz didn't seem like he had it together. He seemed like he kind of was the bad choice, which was totally reversed. Like I think at the beginning of September, I had that flip. Like Waltz seems more confident and Vance seemed like the bad pick for vice president.
Okay, great. By a show of fingers, who has received emails, text messages, or campaign postcards or letters from either campaign or from their surrogates? Who's received any of that stuff? 4 of you. So John, you've not received any emails, text messages, campaign postcards, or letters.
Not for the presidential race, and if they've been sent to me, they've been blocked by my spam filters.
Okay. And no physical mailers have shown up in your house?
Not that I recall.
Okay. And by a show of fingers, who'd say you're getting a lot more mail? I'm sorry, email. I'm sorry, hang on a second. Let me finish the question. By a show of fingers, who'd say you're getting a lot more email, text messages, or campaign snail mail from one presidential candidate as compared to the other? All four of you. Who's getting more from Harris of the four of you? One, Tierra. The other three of you getting more from Trump? Okay. All right. I might have asked this question to you the last time. If I did, I'm asking, answer it again if you would. So I don't know whether any of you are gamblers, but if someone required you to bet $50 on the outcome of the election, which presidential candidate would you bet on winning? Note, I'm not asking you who you want in terms of your personal preference. I'm asking you who you think realistically will win so that you can get the $50. Everybody understand? So you might think X is going to win, even though you want Y. All right. By a show of fingers, who thinks that Harris is going to win? You put $50 on Harris. Two of you, Chris and Crystal. The other three of you would put it on Trump? Okay. Chris, why would you put $50 on Harris?
I just think in like recent weeks, Trump's been kind of going down in the polls, and seems like Harris has been like making ground in the like states that she needs to.
Okay. Crystal, why would you put $50 on Harris?
I've been seeing Harris gain ground. I think she has a really good chance. I think she has a better chance than she did when she first announced.
Okay. The other three of you see things differently. Tierra, why would you put $50 on Trump?
Because to me, it's still neck and neck. Kamala is gaining ground, but I feel like Trump still has a lot of supporters that don't like her.
Okay. John, why would you put $50 on Trump?
Because I think the electoral college is going to come down to a couple of the swing states. And I think the momentum right now, based on what I've read and seen, is behind Trump in those swing states. I think Harris will win the popular vote, but I think the electoral college at this today, and I reserve the right to change my mind, will be Trump if it were today.
Jason, what about you?
Yeah, same like John. I've been like following the polls, and it seems like there's kind of been a shift towards him, and a kind of a reduction in Harris's amount. And I know like Trump is kind of expanding the places he's going. He's going to New Mexico, he's going to New Hampshire, he's going to, I think, even Virginia. And so Harris is like more playing defense while he's playing offense.
Okay. So by a show of fingers, among your circle of friends and family members, are you more surprised by how many say they are voting for Trump, or how many are voting for Harris? Or are you not surprised by who's voting for whom? Everybody understand the question? Okay. So who would say that you're more surprised by how many say they're voting for Trump? Two of you. Who's more surprised by the number who say they're voting for Harris? None of you. And who says they're not surprised by what you're hearing? Three of you. Okay. And by a show of fingers, who thinks female candidates have a harder time getting elected than male candidates? I think it's harder for female candidates. 4 of you do. Crystal, you mentioned this before, so I'm going to skip over you. You gave me an explanation on this. Tiara, why do you think it's harder for female candidates?
I mean, Crystal pretty much said it all, just because y'all look at us as the mothers and the wives, and to be doing the stuff that we need to do at home or with the kids. They don't look at us as running or having power over anything.
Okay. John, why do you think it's harder for women candidates?
I think it's harder for a woman presidential candidate because there hasn't been a female vice president. So there's still at least the perception of a glass ceiling that needs to be broken until the first females elected, similar to how Obama was the first African American was elected. I think we could have had the same conversation, say 20 years ago, regarding African Americans.
Okay. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of like the same way. I think there's more about not many people can see a woman in the position of like power yet, of like in the presidential seat, and it's more of a matter of everybody getting by that barrier or seeing their.
Okay. By a show of fingers, who would say that on most days you pay attention to the 2024 election? Who would say on most days you're paying attention to the election? All 5 of you. Okay. And by a show of fingers, have any of you already voted? 3 of you did. Okay, Jason, Tiara, and Crystal. So Jason, who would you vote for if you're willing to tell us?
Yeah, Libertarian.
Oh, you vote for Chase Oliver.
Yeah.
Okay. Tiara, were you willing to tell me who you voted for?
Kamala.
And Crystal?
Kamala.
Okay, Harris. All right. I just want to make sure. So you guys, what brought you all together the last time? I think you might have been, some of you were in different sessions the last time, so it's a little bit of mixing and matching of our prior groups in July. But you all you all have in common is that you all voted for Nikki Haley in the primary. So I just want to make sure I have your political affiliations correct. So who's a registered Republican in this group? So Crystal and Jason. Okay. And the rest of you independents? Or Democrats who crossed?
There's no requirement in my state to register for one party or another.
Okay. So what would you consider yourself, John? Just so I know.
Probably more Republican, but moderate.
Okay. And Chris, what were you?
Independent.
Independent. And you, Tiara?
A Democrat.
Okay. And you're able to, what state are you in?
Nevada.
You're able to cross over in Nevada, right? You had that sort of strange system in Nevada, right? You could.
Yeah, you can cross over.
Okay.
Switch it, yeah.
Got it.
I still get stuff from California. Like they're still sending me stuff to vote here in Nevada, even though Nevada's sending me stuff.
Okay.
Weird.
You used to live in California?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Got it. So let's do a quick word association exercise. I'm going to mention a person, and I'd like to hear the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that person's name, a word or a phrase. Please do not overthink it. Okay? And I'll call on you again one at a time. Everybody ready? Okay. Vice President Harris. First word or phrase that comes to mind. Teresa, what's yours?
Not a leader.
Dale,
Abortion.
Zach,
Borders are.
Melody,
My mind just went blank. I want to say different, and I mean, I'm just different.
okay. Barbara,
Abortion.
Jennifer,
Pandering.
okay. Next person, former President Trump. The first thing that comes to mind when you hear his name. Everybody have a word or a phrase? You all do? Okay. Dale, what's yours?
Well, my first one is the war.
Zach,
Unhinged.
Melody,
Scared.
Jennifer,
Narcissist.
Barbara,
Blowhard.
Teresa.
Egotistical.
Okay. So I'd like you all to imagine you could have the experience of spending a half hour hanging out in a bar with either Trump or Harris.
Wow.
So I want to know if you had to choose one of them, which one you'd choose. So by a show of fingers, who would hang out with Trump for half an hour? One of you, Zach. The other 5 of you would hang out with Harris. Have that right?
Yeah.
Zach, why Trump?
He's a storyteller, to say the least. So I feel like I would have a lot more fun with the storyteller.
Okay. Got it. Why would the other 5 of you take Harris? Melody, why would you take Harris?
Get to know her better.
Mhm.
Who else would say that's the number one reason why you'd want to hang out with her? Is you want to get to know her better? Who else? So Teresa and Barbara, the same reason.
Mhm.
Okay. Jennifer, why would you want to hang out with her?
I don't know if I necessarily feel like safe with Trump in a bar setting.
Got it. Dan, what about you?
I really wouldn't want to hang out with either of them. And I just mentally threw a coin.
Okay. Got it. All right. Jennifer, just going back to you, what would be unsafe about hanging out with Trump at a bar?
I don't know. He has some past issues with hands and so forth.
Got it. Okay. So when it comes to Donald Trump, what are you most hopeful about? What are you most hopeful about? Anybody want to go first? Barbara, go ahead.
I think I'm most hopeful that he's going to turn the economy around.
Okay. What else? Teresa.
I'm hopeful that his VP pick is a strong leader.
Okay. What else? No one has anything else you're hopeful about when it comes to Trump? Dale, go ahead.
Well, I think that we'll have a more stable economy and things will start to fly right.
Okay. Jennifer?
I'm hopeful that his unhinged sort of comments and demeanor will calm down and he'll act like a president.
Okay.
If he's elected.
Got it. Okay. When it comes to Kamala Harris, what are you most hopeful about?
I'll go since people are taking some time. That I don't have to listen to commercials about her setting prices in grocery stores, because the president should not be setting the price of goods in a capitalistic society.
Okay. Got it. What else are you hopeful about? The other five of you. Teresa.
I'm hopeful that she actually does take control of the border crisis.
Okay. What else? Zach?
Hopeful for some type of bipartisanship.
Okay. What else? Dale?
I'm hopeful that she might become a lame duck president.
Okay. Anything else? Any others? No? Okay. Got it.
I'll say that there's not an increase in instability worldwide because she's in office.
Got it. Okay. When it comes to Donald Trump, what are you most fearful of? Dale?
That he'll pull out support for Ukraine.
Okay. What else?
I'd say like global instability, just with foreign national leaders and everything like that.
Okay. What else? What else are you fearful of when it comes to Trump?
He'll use his power to punish people, or exercise power that he should not be doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Sorry.
That's okay. That he will try and push his agenda too far over the will of the people.
And Teresa, is there an aspect of that agenda that most worries you?
It's just his overall demeanor at times. He, especially with the ads that are going on around here and how he talks about people and things that he's going to do. He's going to take control and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And, how much power does the president really have to do all of that?
Okay. Got it. When it comes to Vice President Harris, what are you most fearful of? Teresa?
She won't be a strong leader internationally.
Zach, something about her you're fearful of?
I would also lean towards the foreign national policy setting.
Okay. You're worried about her foreign policy?
I mean, especially with the border and everything, how she handled it, because she was in charge of it as a VP. So I'd worry that some of that stuff from her vice presidency and the Biden administration will carry over to her presidency.
Okay. What else are you fearful of? Melody, anything you're fearful of when it comes to Harris?
Just that I hope she doesn't lose.
All right. What else? Dale, what are you fearful of?
Well, I'm afraid that China and Russia are going to have their way, and they'll see this a golden opportunity to grab Taiwan and advance into other countries.
Okay. Got it. All right. Anything else you're fearful of with Harris?
That progressive issues and focus on those will distract from what I would consider more pressing issues.
Got it. Okay. So I'd like you all to think back to when Trump was president, January of 2017 to January of 2021. For each of you, please give me a word or phrase to describe what life in America was like during that period of time, during the Trump administration. Everybody have one? I'll call on you, but everybody got one? You do? Okay. Melody, go first.
I want to say unsecure.
All right. Zach?
Chaotic.
Teresa?
I would say chaotic also, along with COVID.
All right. Dale?
I would say, I want to also say, it was chaotic with COVID.
Okay.
I remember the press conferences.
Yep. Got it. Barbara?
Unpredictable.
All right. Jennifer?
Just a uncertainty.
Okay. Next, please think back to the period that we're in now, during the Biden administration, from January 2021 to the present. Give me a word or a phrase, if you would, to describe what life in America has been like during the Biden presidency. Everybody have one? Jennifer, why don't you go first?
Say mass tech layoffs.
Okay.
Also affecting me.
All right. All right. Dale?
Weak international policy.
Okay. Teresa?
I would say weak foreign policy.
Barbara?
I was going to say calmer.
Okay. Melody?
I would say calmer too.
Zach?
Expensive.
Say it again.
Expensive.
Expensive. Thank you. All right. So please think back to early September and the 8 weeks between then and now. It's like Labor Day to now. Okay. By a show of fingers, who recalls something happening either in the world at large or during the presidential campaign that caused you to shift how you view either Trump or Harris? So I'm talking about the period after the conventions. So from then, from Labor Day until now, anything caused you to shift how you view either candidate in the last 8 weeks? Anything internationally? Anything in the campaign? I got Jennifer with one. Anybody else? Dale? Okay, so 2 of you. All right, Jennifer, what's yours?
The sort of racist rhetoric at the last like public meeting. I don't think that was condemned enough for Trump. And
Wait,
so that
hang on a second. Which meeting are you referring to?
it was a couple of days ago. It was like a rally or whatever, and he had like Dr. Phil there, and he had some other like comedians and stuff. But
Madison Square Garden yesterday.
yes, that's that's probably what it is. Anyway, and so that took down a notch for me, my view, as well as Russia creating fake videos of people tearing up ballots in Pennsylvania. And that just, I don't know, if Russia wants him to be in charge, is that a good thing? Yeah, if they're trying to fake videos to sort of sway public opinion or something.
Got it. Dale, what's happened in the last 8 weeks that's affected your view of either candidate?
Well, I heard the word abortion so many times, I started doing research. And then I found out that 59% of people having abortions have had multiple abortions. And it just caused me to look at this whole situation. It may not be a perfect to go all one way or all the other way, but it's definitely not going the way I wanted it to.
Meaning what? Like what's
Well, it looks like they always find person who was raped or someone who almost died, but they are in a minority. And the bigger problem is that we have do whatever you want society. And it carries over into so many other things that are kind of like a progressive agenda.
got it. So how has that affected your view of Harris or Trump?
I can't stand Harris because she's so far into that world of abortion, and it sounds wonderful to say reproductive freedom, and it's way more complicated than that, way more complicated, and one size doesn't fit all. But I got tired of hearing it, and that's all they talk about.
Got it. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So by a show of fingers, who has received emails, text messages, or campaign postcards or letters from either campaign or from their surrogates? All 6 of you.
Or
Okay.
phone calls.
Yep.
Text messages.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Emails, yeah.
Got it. So by a show of fingers, who'd say you're getting a lot more email, text messages, or campaign snail mail from one presidential candidate as opposed to the other? Sees a skew where you're getting a lot more from one candidate than the other.
Well,
So Dale's getting a clearly more from one side than the other. The other 5 of you are getting roughly the same amount. Okay, Dale, who are you getting more of it from?
It's almost always from Trump.
Okay, got it. All right, so the next question, I might have asked you the last time. If I did, I'm going to ask it again. If I didn't ask it, this is a hypothetical, okay? I don't know whether you folks are gambling people, and if you are, great. And if you're not, just go with me. This is just a hypothetical. It's not going to cost you a penny, all right? If someone required you to bet $50 on the outcome of the presidential election, which candidate would you bet on winning? Note that I am not asking you who you want to win, who your preferred personal candidate is. That's irrelevant, okay? All I'm asking is, if you want to win the $50, who would you put the money on? Okay? So, by a show of fingers, who would put the $50 on Harris? 4 of you. The other 2 would put it on Trump, Teresa and Dale?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. All right. So for the 4 of you who would put it on Harris, Zach, why would you put it on Harris?
The polling inaccuracies from the last couple of years, and just with the general consensus of the morality of the two, it just feels like a lot of people are still having a hard time, even though they don't like Kamala. A lot of people I know are still having a hard time casting that actual vote for Trump just because of who he is and what he stands for. And I think that's going to weigh in once people are starting to vote in person.
Okay. Melody?
I just think she would be a better candidate than Trump.
Okay. But why would you put $50 on her? Because
In hopes that she does win. I do believe she's going to win.
okay, so you think she's going to win because she is a better candidate.
Yes.
All right. Barbara, why would you put $50 on Harris?
I think the polls are kind of leaning her way. And so I just think it's a better bet.
Okay. Jennifer, what about you?
I personally know people who voted maybe for Trump last time or typically vote conservatively, yet can't bear the thought of voting for him and are either going to abstain or write in a candidate's name.
Got it. Okay. Teresa, Why would you put $50 on Trump?
Just looking at the polls that they're showing here in North Carolina, it just seems to me that even though they're so close, I just think he's going to have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to the actual election day.
Okay. And Dale, why would you put $50 on Trump?
Well, I would say with all the crazy things he said, he should be in the basement, and he's not. And she's in the basement on so many other topics, the economy and so forth. And I think he'll squeak by, but he should be absolutely at zero for all the stuff he said. And they're staying with him.
Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, so I want to just give Barbara a quick heads up. We're getting some audio feedback, so we're keeping you muted. It has nothing, don't worry, nothing you can probably do about it. Whenever you want to speak, just unmute and then mute again. Thank you. All right. By a show of fingers among the circle, excuse me, by a show of fingers among your circle of friends and family members, are you more surprised by how many say they're voting for Trump? Or are you more surprised by how many say they're voting for Harris? Or are you not surprised at all by what people are telling you? So by a show of fingers, who says that you're more surprised by the people telling you they're voting for Trump? Four of you. Who's more surprised by the people say they're voting for Harris? None of you. And who's not surprised either way by what you're hearing? Two of you. Okay. So for the four of you say you're surprised by what you're hearing regarding Trump. Can anybody give me an example of like, oh my God, I can't believe this person's voting for Trump? That kind of reaction that you're having? Barbara?
I can't believe that after the insurrection and everything that he put us through for the previous 4 years, that people still are voting for him, regardless of if they're Democrat or Republican. So.
Okay, but is this specifically among friends and family you're talking about, or just general?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm saying about, well, pretty much everything, everyone.
Okay,
just the way I'm hearing everything, I'm just surprised that people would still want to vote for him.
Okay,
after what he put us through.
Okay, but this is among people you know personally.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. It's not general. Okay, got it. By a show of fingers, who thinks female candidates have a harder time getting elected than male candidates do? All six of you. Jennifer, why is that? I think she's frozen. All right, I'll circle back to her. Melody, why do you think that is?
It's just, I want to say it's harder for them to, go out there and get the votes.
Why?
Just raising the money and stuff, and I don't know. I mean, we've never had a female president.
Jennifer, why do you think it's harder for female?
I just think there are some people in our society still that are either misogynistic or only think that a male is capable of that ultimate leadership.
Okay. Dale, what about you?
Well, I think it's sometimes difficult for female executives to assert themselves or appear like they're asserting themselves, even though it's done all the time, and there's some of the best leaders have proven to be women.
Okay, got it. By a show of fingers, who would say that on most days you pay attention to the 2024 election? On most days, you pay attention? All 6 of you. Melody, you do too?
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure I had all the fingers. That's all of you. Okay. And by a show of fingers, have any of you already voted for president? Who's voted so far? Barbara and Melody. Okay.
Melon ballot.
Melody, who'd you vote for?
Harris.
Okay. Barbara, what about you?
Trump.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I'm also curious about your political affiliations, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. Remember, all of you have the same thing in common, that you all voted for Nikki Haley in the primary. That's why originally we recruited you. How many of you consider yourselves Democrats? Are there any Democrats who crossed over into voted in a Republican primary? None of you. How many of you are Republicans? 5. And Zach, you're what, independent?
Yeah, I would consider myself independent.
Okay, got it. Okay, great.